So I'm in Racine, Wisconsin, and I wanted to do a drive through this place and cover this because their homicide murder rate has doubled since 2020. And basically what I did was I looked, like I normally do, at one of those heat maps, and I looked at where the violent crime was the worst, which is a strip close to the water that runs through downtown. And I also then looked at the last like 10 or 15 homicides that they had here, and I plotted them out, and they all pretty much just went straight down this same path down, you know, close to the river, but from north to south. And we're actually doing it from south to north, where we're gonna just drive up through here. A lot of this is kind of dumpy already, but this was the worst part of it. And well, this is still Washington. And so basically what happened here was in 2020, they had 5 homicides in 2020. And basically every year prior to 2020, going back to 2009, they had 1 to 5 homicides. They barely had any homicides here. And you can see, look, that place is all closed up. They barely had any homicides here. I mean, their homicide rate was really low. And then last year, their homicides jumped from being 5 or under up to 11, which was 11 was an official number. I couldn't find an official number from the city, but I did find 11 murders, so they had at least that. So that's the least that their homicide number was. And that gives them a murder rate of 14.4. And that's more than double. So they went from 6.6 murder rate to 14.4 just since the summer of Floyd. And I know I'll get people that are watching this that live here or have lived here, and they will be telling me over and over how this is, you know, a great city, and, you know, I didn't go through the right areas. We're gonna go through, here's downtown, we'll go through downtown. I didn't go through the right areas and this and that. And that's fine. Everybody on all these videos, they say that, but this is where the murders are. This is just the stats. This is just, the murder rate was 6.6. It is now 14.4. And the city might still be relatively safe because, you know, having 10, 12 homicides isn't too bad, but this is a city with a population of 77,000 people. And the city actually peaked at 95,000 back in the 70s, and it's been declining ever since. And this is also a city that is lodged between Milwaukee and Chicago, which isn't doing it any favors, its location. It's 64% white, 22% black, and they have a poverty rate of 26%. So a quarter of the population here is below the poverty line, which also doesn't bode well for a city. But 68% of the people that were born here, or 68% of the people live here, were born here. So the city's got something going for it that, I don't know what's going on here. We'll get off of here. The city's got something going for it that people are sticking around. And now, because of whatever traffic thing they have, we're off of the path I was going to take, so we'll see what happens here. But the homicide thing was the reason I wanted to come through here and just kind of see what the city looked like, because those are alarming numbers, and that it could just be, you know, it could be people passing through here are bringing up the homicide rate, and it could be that the city's just getting worse, and it's gotten worse then just since 2020. I mean, 2020 here was actually still good. What did I say? They had 5 homicides? That's still good for a city this size. A murder rate at 6.6, a murder rate down in the 6s and 5s and stuff, that's, for America, that's really good. But then jumping up to 14.4 within a matter of years is alarming and not a good trend for a city to go on. And if you look at this, look, okay, so here's, what is this, Lake Michigan? I don't know if you can see that. The camera's kind of fixed in that position. But this would normally be a place where the most expensive, look at the windows on this place, are all boarded up. This would normally be a place where the most expensive houses were. I don't even know what road we're on, 14th. Where the most expensive houses are, and instead, this is the area that has the most crime. Right along the water like that. These should be $1 million houses on the water right there. And instead, this is one of the worst neighborhoods in the city. The city actually, when I looked at the heat maps, it was this strip that went through downtown north and south right along the water like this. And then the other portion of it was much further inland, much further west, and that was, there was like another pocket that was really bad. But the majority, so if people are going to leave comments about me driving through this city and saying the murder rate has more than doubled, that's fine. There are, much of the city is very safe. This section that I'm going through, actually this is, I probably should get a couple blocks over, but this section that I'm going through and one other pocket further in are the 2 areas that are the worst in the city. So at some point earlier, up when I was still like in the downtown area, I got this really creepy feeling and I felt like I just needed to get out of there. So I had started heading south because I was on my way to Kenosha, and I just wanted to get south as fast as I could. So I didn't really go through much of the bad areas that I wanted to go through, because once I got into the downtown, just some uneasy feeling came over me and I just didn't feel like I should stay there. And I later found out that they had actually had a homicide earlier that day in that same area. And I don't know if there was something still in the air there. They hadn't caught the guy yet. So I don't know if it was some uneasy feeling because of that, but I know that I got this uneasy feeling and I felt like I needed to leave. And so I kind of just went through, and I'm overdubbing this because I just started rambling because I was just trying to get onto a road that I recognized that would take me down to Kenosha. I was working in South Milwaukee, and my hotel was in Racine, and it was in, I think it was called Mount Pleasant or something like that, and that was a western area of the city. And that area was really nice, and I could see why people lived there. It was so nice. But when I was in that downtown area, which is part of the area that's bad, I don't know, I got this uneasy feeling. And so the city is divided in that section that's bad, and then the rest is actually like really nice, very safe areas. But I just had to get out of there, so I didn't get much of the stuff that I actually wanted to cover, but I didn't feel like I should have stayed there either. So I'm just going to let this play through, and it'll be all sped up, but you can still see a little bit of the city as I exit it.